Yo, what's up guys, welcome back to another video. This is a reaction to the most evil CIA torture methods. And in terms of torture methods, I've done reactions before to the worst torture methods, and I think it was stuff like, is it the brazen ball? Like horrific stuff. I mean, all torture methods are gonna be like bad, but there's like levels, right? I mean, I think those ones weren't actually torture methods, they were methods of execution. Obviously torture, I don't think the goal is to off someone, you know, but I feel like it probably sometimes happens because they're so brutal. So this will be stuff like waterboarding, right? Or is there like the drip one when like you've just got the thing dripping on your head every few seconds? Apparently that can make you crazy. I think it'll be stuff like that, but I don't really know, to be fair. I'm not too sure. I'm not aware of CIA torture methods unless maybe when I get into this video and I realise, oh, I've heard of this one, I've heard of that one. But I'm going to check this out and see what they were doing, because I done a reaction yesterday pretty much focused around the CIA. I learned it's got a very dark history, and I guess it's just a lot more controversial than I realised. And yeah, but we're going to check this out, learn about what's going on. Links are in the description to my Patreon, where you can see reactions that I can't post to YouTube. But let's see what the CIA are doing to criminals and people alike.
Alright, starting off we have... Hold up, I think my piece is here.
Oh.
Shoot. Stress positions. When it comes to torture, nothing beats good old-fashioned pain. This pain is usually dealt out personally by the torturer. However, torturing people can get exhausting, so
how do you get that job position, by the way? How do you become a torturer? Do you apply for it, or do you just sort of get put in a position where you've just found yourself as someone who now does this as a job? Like, what happens there?
Techniques are used to give the torturer a little break. That's where stress positions come in. Stress positions are painful ways to arrange someone's body so that they are stuck in pain.
Oh,
Think of it like doing a plank, but against your will and for much longer.
Oh,
Meanwhile,
God.
people watch until you break. So basically gym class. These stress positions sometimes led to permanent damage in the nerves, joints, and circulatory system. There was even a reported death of a detainee that had been stripped, chained to a wall, and left overnight. In the morning, when the officers returned to continue the torture, they found the deceased body. The autopsy found that the cause of death was hypothermia from being left bare on the very cold floor. So I guess technically that could be used as an excuse to get out of gym class, but don't count on it. Sleep deprivation.
That's got to be up there as one of the worst ones, man. I mean, being like basically forced to stay awake, I cannot imagine what that would be like.
If you like to stay awake until your eyes feel like fried eggs or till the crack of dawn, don't worry. You're not alone. But usually that sleep eventually catches back up to you and you end up falling asleep eventually. Well, imagine after pulling that all-nighter you begin to doze off into the ethereal realm of sleep, only to be jerked back into consciousness by blaring alarms and flashing lights. This was the technique used by the CIA to get information out of detainees. Sometimes these sounds were played for 24 hours a day on loop. Yeah, good luck trying to get that sound out of your head. Meanwhile, cells were also reportedly kept deliberately cold to prevent detainees from falling asleep. The agency was reportedly allowed to keep the detainees awake for up to 180 hours, which is about a week.
Oh,
I just find it hard to imagine how they can get information out of them after about day 5.
Imagine how good it would be when you fall asleep and you actually are finally allowed to sleep. If that's how, I guess there was a point where they would let them sleep, or maybe not. I'm just gonna make this scenario in my head. You've been kept awake for a week. You finally sleep and you're not getting woken up. You must be sleeping for a good 24, 30 hours straight. I mean, I don't know how it sort of catches up with your sleep and stuff, but that is something else.
Now talk! The CIA justified sleep deprivation by saying it focuses the detainee's attention on his current situation rather than ideological goals, which happened to crack a bunch of individuals, so maybe there's merit. Waterboarding. This isn't some new water sport that your uncle just happened to get into while going through a divorce. This is a severe torture method used to simulate drowning and induce panic. Easy mistake, I know. The detainee is usually strapped down on their back and tilted on a board so that their feet are angled above their head. A cloth is then placed over the face of the detainee such that their mouth and nose are covered. Water is then poured continuously over the cloth, which prevents breathing. Waterboarding can cause extreme pain due to damage to the lungs and even brain damage from oxygen deprivation. Normally, water is poured intermittently to prevent death. However, if the water is poured uninterruptedly, it would lead to death by asphyxia. During these interrogations, some detainees were subject to waterboarding up to 180 times. But again, how could they get this information in settings like these? I can imagine it's hard to get confessions when you have situations like, "Now talk." Get the other bucket. Confinement box. Have you ever had to squeeze past someone in the aisle of a grocery store? If you have, you may feel a tiny sense of uneasiness as you get closer and closer to them.
Facts.
As you pass by them, the walls of the aisle seem to hug you as you make unnerving eye contact.
And they suddenly bend over to pick something up as soon as you're right behind them. I mean, I'm not saying this happened to me. I'm just making up a scenario, right? But it's awkward as fuck. And you're trying to say, like, can I get past? But they're just so focused on what they're doing, or you're too shy to say it.
With them. If this is you, you might want to get checked out. You may have a mild form of claustrophobia. And maybe a little social anxiety.
Yeah.
But anyways, that same feeling from the aisles of the grocery store is what the confinement box tries and accomplishes in replicating. Victims of the confinement box are put inside for long periods of time. Inside the box, detainees struggle to move and adjust their bodies. They are unable to sit up as the box is too short, and trying to curl yourself up wouldn't work either as the box is too cramped. Breathing also becomes difficult as your lungs are pressed against your thighs. The detainees were cuffed and chained in an upward fetal position and left in the box for hours.
Oh, man.
The pain was so great that some detainees reportedly screamed unconsciously. Rectal rehydration.
See, the thing is with these, right, I'm hearing these and I'm like, you know what, I'm confessing. I'm not going through this. I'm confessing, man. I don't care what I mean, I probably should care because in these situations they're probably going to get killed or put in prison for life or whatever. But I'm speaking as soon as I get put in one of these ones, man. There's no way I'm dealing with this stuff.
Get your sphincters
just to get in the same issues anyway. It's not like you're not going to get found out. So it's just like, just do it at the start to avoid it all.
Ready for this one. Rectal rehydration is the process of injecting water into the, well, you know. This was of course done without the determination of a medical need. This was accompanied by the process of rectal feeding, which is also exactly what it sounds like. At one point, the detainee's lunch tray was pureed and rectally infused using, quote, the largest tube we had. Now, rectal feeding isn't really a good way to keep someone alive or administer nutrients. This is because the rectum and colon cannot absorb much besides glucose, salts, and a few minerals and vitamins. The risk of rectal feeding and rehydration include damage to the rectum and colon. Other symptoms of this procedure are triggering bowels to empty, food rotting inside the recipient's digestive tract, and an inflamed or prolapsed rectum from careless insertion of the feeding tube.
Oh my days.
And most times this was done by force, so there was a high risk for damage. If this wasn't deranged enough, an unnamed interrogator said the procedure helped to clear a person's head. Now talk. Anyway, that's all I have for this video. Stay cool and peace out.
Damn it. The CIA did not give a damn, did they? They did not give a damn. Fun fact, a ton of false confessions were extracted via these methods. Turns out when you torture someone and don't listen to their cries of I'm innocent, that's true actually. There's a situation where people ain't even done anything wrong. I forgot about that. They'll admit to almost anything to make the pain stop. Then they think, look at the confessions. Yeah, that's so true, man. Where's this when the CIA uses more messed up methods than actual serial killers? Also, if the sound's blaring, they would delay the noise pattern by a fraction of a second randomly so your mind can adjust to it in any way. It's the box that freaks me out. Imagine being in a fetal position for hours. No human is designed for that. You gotta hope you're short in that circumstance, really. I mean, I guess they've got smaller boxes, to be fair. Sleep deprivation, you mean I accidentally torture myself? Yeah, well, there we go. This sounds brutal. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on this because I'm assuming a lot of you will know about these already. And do you think this actually worked? Do you think this was just a time where the CIA were just doing what they were doing because they had the power to do it? Do they still do this stuff? I don't know if they are still allowed to do torture methods. Maybe they are. I mean, who knows at this point. But yeah, that's that. Until next time, like, subscribe, and peace.